Hey guys, it's been a little while since I have done a video, and what I have been noticing a lot, and what I do a lot with people I work with, is working on their stress levels. And it's saying I need to close a few things, so let me just close a few things down first. Saying working on people's stress levels and their worry. And I had a levels of worrying and worrying about things, and um, uneasiness because of the stress that we're experiencing. And this is a really important topic because it is a well-known fact about how damaging stress can be for our health, and I can first-hand attest for that, because 11 years ago when I had my kidney removed from a tumour, a huge part of that was actually me not dealing with my stress and having lots of anxiety and worry and unresolved emotions. And when I found that tumour 11 years ago, so if you haven't heard my story already, I was 26 at the time. I was living a normal life, I guess, as you would say, in my 20s. Thought I was looking after myself and really wasn't. Had a lot of unresolved emotion and was feeling very angry at the time. Was in a relationship I wasn't satisfied with or happy, wasn't feeling seen or heard. Was in a job I didn't really like, and was also under a lot of pressure from financials, from in my relationship, in my job, and a lot of stories about myself that I had not worked on. And what I felt like happened when I had my tumour be discovered, it sort of almost exploded out of me. So per to say, it was this weird collection of fat and muscle and blood vessels, and what happened is a blood vessel burst and it grew inside itself, and then it turned into this massive growth, and the tumour was inside it. So it was like a bleed that was contained, and it grew, and then that's what created the pain and the discomfort. And I was in really not a good way, and had to have quite from when it was found to when I had the surgery, it was like 5 days. And I remember being in hospital and going, okay, I can't end up back here, because I was faced with my own mortality, and how the hell did I end up in here? And so that 26-year-old went looking for answers, because I wasn't satisfied with the answers that the doctor gave me. I asked what I could eat and drink. There was no consideration to my lifestyle or what I was going through at the time, or I was never even asked anything like that. And it was just like, here, we've done the surgery, on your merry way, come back for a checkup. And so in this process, I was very aware of, I was going through a lot of stuff emotionally beforehand. And it was almost like when the tumour got removed out of my body, a lot of that emotion for a period of time disappeared. It the anger subsided, it disappeared, because it literally exploded out of my body. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because the body keeps score, and it's our emotional scorecard. And if we don't learn to manage our stress and have techniques and tools to get to the root cause of the anxiety, of the worry, of the fear, of the shame, of the deep levels of unworthiness, we're not going to actually really get optimal health. Because one, we will self-sabotage ourselves if we don't feel we're worthy. Two, we will hold on to emotions in the body, and the body just can't get back to equilibrium without releasing it, because we hold emotions on in our body that need to be released. And so what I found on my path was I went I went and studied nutrition. I got really passionate about that, but I also realized there was part of me that needed to do deeper healing, healing with traumas, healing the relationship with myself, learning to really love myself. And we can't balance our hormones, and we can't regain our health if we don't learn that part. And so many women that I speak to are constantly under stress from external sources which aren't going to go away, but it's also how we manage it and the meaning that we give it and the way that we value ourselves in order to care enough for ourselves. And when we don't have enough self-worth, or we've been conditioned to prioritize everyone else in front of ourselves, and we don't fill up our cup first, we then start to burn out. And then it will show up with the adrenals being exhausted because we've been constantly releasing cortisol for a long time. And eventually there'll be this dysfunction that happens. The adrenals sit on top of the kidneys, between the brain and the kidneys and our reproductive organs and our thyroid. And so they all work interconnected. And cortisol has a massive role to play. And so what for me, like part of my hormone balancing journey was, after I got my kidney out, I then went off the pill and I had these hormonal acne, and a huge driver of that was stress and anxiety and worry and deep-seated feelings of unworthiness that I needed to address. And I'm still always addressing, still always working on, building on. I'm not finished. I don't think I'll ever be finished. It's the path, but I wanted to share this with you because if you are working on your health or you have a hormonal condition and you're watching this, what I have learnt is through my own journey and through the observation of others is that there's 3 parts to health. We have, I'm going to draw it on a piece of paper actually because my whiteboard is not working very well at the moment because of the light. There's 3 parts to our health. I'm going to draw 3 circles. We have the biochemical, we have the physical, and we have the emotional. You can see my terrible, even that's terrible, you can't see. Okay, there we go. Biochemical, physical, and emotional. Now what happens is, we have the emotional that connects into the biochemical. I can't do this because it's bad. And impacts us through stress and cortisol, which then impacts in the physical. The emotional, which also goes into the physical, will manifest as physical symptoms. The physical, the way we move our body, will affect our biochemistry and also affect our emotional well-being. And so there's this interconnectedness between them all. The physical is also the world that we live in. The biochemical is also the food that we eat and the nutrients we absorb. And the emotional is the way that we feel and think about ourselves and the stories that we have, the beliefs, the ingrained, the unconscious actions that we've got from very young age. And they all interconnected, and there's this little sweet spot in the middle. And what happens is in modern medicine, a lot of the time they just focus on this, but they don't focus on the nutrition part, so only part of this gets addressed. And they'll focus on the physical symptoms, but the emotional part gets completely ignored, or the physical biochemistry part gets completely ignored, depending on what paradigm you're talking about. And so we've got to look at all 3 aspects. If someone is dealing with mental health issues, what's happening in the biochemistry, what's happening in the physical world, how is it they're manifesting as physical symptoms such as anxiety or depression. And there's an emotional root cause to that. When we're talking about emotional root cause, we're talking about past traumas, past beliefs, the beliefs that were fed to us, the belief systems, the programming that was given to us as a young child from generations passed down, beliefs around ourselves and the way the way basically our nervous system functions and whether or not we felt safe as a child and whether our needs were met as a child. And it does not have to be a big trauma or a small trauma, like a big trauma. It could be a small trauma, a small trauma or a big trauma. It's just when your needs weren't met or you did not feel safe. And so it may have been that you weren't physically safe, but it may also be that you didn't feel seen or heard, and so therefore you didn't feel safe. And I'm sharing this with you because the important part to know around the emotional component is that if we don't, emotions are coming up in the body so that they can leave. And if they don't, which is my first-hand experience, we store them in the body and they manifest as disease. Whether it be a cancer, whether it be autoimmune, whether it be skin, or what I've noticed a lot with acne, and my own acne journey is this element of low self-worth or not feeling good enough, and the vicious cycle that can happen with that. The suppression of feelings and it actually exploding out of the body, literally. So there's always three parts, and we've got to look at all three parts. And so when we're talking about stress, we're really talking about the meaning that we give things, the alarm that we're holding on in our body, and often it's never about that moment. There'll always be something else that we're holding on to, or the meaning that we're giving it, and it could be a conditioning or a shadow part of us that is part of us that isn't going to go away. But what happens is when we don't acknowledge those parts of ourselves, they get louder until they get some attention, or they can explode out of the body somehow, like escape. Emotions come up in the body so that they can leave. Yeah. So when we're talking about stress, we're talking about cortisol, and cortisol has such a massive impact with our health. It damages the lining of our gut. It changes the microbiome. We are, by the way, more microbes than we are human cells, DNA. We have more gut bacteria and gut DNA in our body than we do human DNA. Outnumbers it by 10 to 1. It changes our immune function, cortisol. It stops us from being able to digest our food because we're in fight or flight. And when we're in our fight or flight, the blood circulation is directed away from our digestive tract to our limbs so that we can flight, get the hell out of there. It impacts our sleep. Our nervous system uses up more minerals such as magnesium when we're in a constant state of alarm. And so when we're talking about stress, it's also important to note that there's two types of stress, and this is key. There's eustress and de-stress. Now, eustress, E-U, stress, E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S, eustress is the good type of stress. So we need an element of stress in our life, and this is the type of stress that pushes us, helps us grow, and expands our capacity to actually deal with high stress situations, to deal with pressure. And think of someone being trained like an FBI, police force, Secret Service type training role. They put those type of people under extreme pressure so that their level of stress and their level of tolerance increases. And so what that means is as the level of intolerance increases, they then become being able to deal with it. And so we need to actually bring healthy amounts of stress into our life every single day so that we can choose our stress and we choose our challenge and we choose our mountain to climb. And what that does for us is it's a really good outlet. Physical exercise is a really amazing way to move emotion through the body. The challenge is conscious, so that then we are consciously choosing the challenge is not choosing us. Because if we don't have enough challenge in our life, the challenge will choose us. And so how can we consciously choose the challenge in a way so that it's not sourcing us out, so we're not subconsciously sourcing it out, creating drama in our lives and creating more challenge for ourselves. And so that is eustress. And then distress is stress that is the type of stress that we are creating cortisol, we're feeling pressure, we're feeling worry, we're feeling anxiety, depression, from the external factors, and because we don't know how to regulate it. Now, what happens a lot of the time is when we're feeling these levels of stress, worry, anxiety, these are emotions in the body that need to be addressed, and often, always, we are ignoring those feelings. And so I had a client this morning who was feeling this huge amounts of worry, and she's like, I can't escape the worry, like I'm worrying about everything. And so we did this process where we took her in, I took her into her body, I got her to drop in, I got her to feel the sensation, I got her to breathe. And we actually went back to a younger version of herself when she felt 13 and she felt alone and sad. And so below the worry was this feeling of being alone and being sad. And we connected to that version of herself. And we allowed her to feel seen and heard. And the feeling in her chest, the anxiety and worry, it took a while. We had to dig around a little bit. It disappeared. I was like, how's it feeling? And she's like, it's gotten a lot better. I was like, okay, because there's a part of you that's not feeling seen and heard right now. And so this part of you is your shadow that needs to be acknowledged, and you need to change the relationship with. And this is when I'm talking about getting to the root cause of anxiety and stress, is what what the magic source is, because we all have parts of us that need to be acknowledged, and often we are so desperate for approval and so desperate for acknowledgement that we will do anything in our lives to get that attention, and the way that we choose it can be very different in different ways. I was desperate for the approval of my dad, and I was doing things and manifested a relationship that was similar in a lot of ways, and was desperate for the approval of people outside of me because I wasn't giving it to myself. And I was making my worth based on those things external rather than being able to actually give it to myself, and I didn't know how. And it wasn't until I learnt these tools to actually go, oh my gosh, okay, I can see why I understand now why I got so sick, because I didn't understand my nervous system. My whole life would have been in a state of alarm. I was in like reactive mode, like just stay the hell out of the way, make sure you keep safe type mode. Subtle, wasn't all the time, you know. But even though I'd moved out of the situation, it was still there in my body for a good 6-7 years before I actually dealt with it, and then it exploded out of my body. And we can live with these things for a long time because the feelings and the emotions in our body need to leave. They need to come up. They need to leave. And this is really how we address the root cause. And we can't address any type of health condition, any type of hormonal condition, without actually learning how to regulate our nervous system, so that our nervous system can drop into parasympathetic, rest and digest, feeling calm and feeling safe, because I'm not going to ever feel safe, not ever going to be able to fully operate and get back to optimal vitality if I'm in a constant state of alarm. And we know this. Everyone knows someone that's like, yeah, they got sick. It's like, okay, they were really stressed. They got cancer. They were really stressed. They had a heart attack. Oh yeah, they were really stressed. There was a big stress component. It's well known, even in the medical world, that stress has such a big impact. But the discussion is never then, how do we really manage it? And it's like, oh, go to a counselor, go to a therapist, but even then you can talk and talk and talk and talk, but you might not get to the root cause, and not learn how to do it to yourself and connect to yourself on a real deep level. And it takes work and practice, but I just want to take you through a process now, if you're watching this and this really resonates, to hopefully help you feel more connected to your body and just feel an instant sense of relief. And because if you can get a sense of that, then you know there's more possible. So I want you to take a big deep breath in, breathe out, let it go. Take another deep breath in, close your eyes, let it go. Take another deep breath in, breathe in, let it go. And just close your eyes down and just put your hand maybe on your chest or your heart, and just notice and just do a bit of a scan in your body. Where is there a sense of alarm? Is it in your throat, your chest, maybe in your solar plexus or your tummy? Could be in your head or the back of your neck. They're quite common spots. And just notice the alarm. And just observe it without judgment. And just acknowledge that you're safe in this moment. And when you're noticing the sensation, how would you describe the sensation? Is there a texture? Is there a colour? Now I want you to pretend you've got a microscope and you're zooming in now to this sensation, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, so that there is surrounded by the sensation. I want you to just get curious and ask what emotion is here. Why are you here? What emotion is here? And when you've observed what emotion is here, with your eyes closed, can you just acknowledge that? It could be frustration, it could be anger, it could be fear, it could be sadness. And just say to yourself, it's okay to feel whatever the emotion is. It's safe to feel. I'm allowed to feel. I have full permission to feel sadness, grief, anger. And why does it make sense at this time that you're feeling this way? So you're not making yourself wrong for being where you are where you are, and that's the only place there is to be. So why does it make sense that with everything you've got going on that you're feeling this way? And then I want you to ask yourself the question, how old do I feel right now? And when you get the answer, I want you to imagine that you have that version of yourself standing in front of you. And look them in the eyes. And ask them, how are you feeling right now? and say, I see you and I hear you. And I'm sorry I've ignored you. And it's okay to feel this way. And explain to them why it makes sense that they feel this way, given what they've gone through. And then look them in the eyes and just tell them what they need to hear from you. Or what do they need to hear from you right now, in this moment? Is it, you're worthy, you're enough, it's going to be okay, I'm here for you, I've got you. I love you. You might want to reach out to them and give them a hug. Ask them what they're most scared of. And reassure them that it's okay. Say, I see you. And I've got you, and I'm going to protect you. Now ask them, is there anything that they need in this moment? And when they answer, if they answer, they may not answer because they may be resistant. Make that commitment to give them, so they give that to them. Ask them, is there anything else that they want to say to you? And then take a couple of deep breaths in. Say thank you. Breathe out. Let it go. And then just take a few more breaths and then put your hands over your eyes. Now that is a pretty simple exercise. We often need guidance because there can be lots of resistance. But that's a really easy tool to start to use. Now, if this resonated and you felt something and you got all the way through this and you're like, yeah, okay, I really needed that and that helped me, please reach out and send me a DM. If you're like, yeah, I know that this anxiety and the stress and the worry and the emotions that I'm holding on to is impacting my health and my hormones and the way that my body is showing up right now and the way my body is not in balance, then please reach out to me, send me a DM. I wish I had, the things that I teach people now is the things that I wish I had have had when I was in my health crisis. And it took me a long time to find a lot of these things. And the way that I've designed, the way that I work with people is really now going, okay, if I had me sitting in front of me, that 26-year-old, who I'm grateful for every day, for her to asking questions and not giving up and looking for answers and relief, what would I say to her? And sometimes that's having gratitude for the parts of us that we are making ourselves wrong as well. And learning that there's going to be equal amounts of light and dark. And we need to love both parts of ourselves. Hello. Ned agrees. So if it resonated, please reach out to me. If you've got any questions, please comment below. And I'll see you all in the next video. Ciao.